I'm doing my midterm oral report for Team 33 Project Redfish. One of the technical problems that I have experienced this semester was understanding the controller structure and usage that was handed to us in the original code base for InfluxDB. First, I had to understand the current code base, read through it, map out the flow, understand the functioning of it. Next, I had to understand the needs and of the controller in the current code base. And so I found all the files that were calling functions from the controller, and I had to map where those methods were needed. Lastly, I regrouped the structure of the code and organized it. I commented the code base and where it was used and what needs it had, and I reordered to better organize. Since I wasn't completely familiar with how InfluxDB is supposed to function, coming to the solution took some investigation. So I researched different layouts and architectures that are used for controllers, and I found a controller service uh, um, architecture that is easier to understand, helps control flow, and helps with the reusage of code. So next I began the construction of a new controller file. I decided which services needed to be grouped together, laid out the new structure for the service files, and rewrote the controller to call the service functions. Then I began the construction of the different service files. I pulled together the business logic, put it in its own separate files, and I created 4 service files and inputs for the new functions for each of the services. The results of restructuring and refactoring have been pretty amazing because first, the code is cleaner. We're able to understand the controller's flow, and it's not so buried in the business logic of the controller. Um, and then the service files are a lot easier to understand because the refactoring made it simpler to move it down or move down through the code. Second, the extra functionality that's there is, or that was needed is there. The controller is now much more easily adaptable, and we were able to create some of the query methods that we wanted to that were more specific to our usage. Lastly, we decided to recode other portions of the project with this architecture. Adam was the one who showed me the architecture, and we refactored all of our other connection types utilizing this new architecture. Next time I would change approaching refactoring first with separating into all the individual files the functions within the controllers. That would help reduce the flow understanding problems and the function understanding. Then second, I would understand the method in which I would reorganize the actual controller and how to manipulate it. So some of the variables had to be changed to allow their scope to be handled across multiple files. So we had to set getters and setters, and we had to expose more of the variables than I would have really liked to. So doing this architecture in the future, I would lay some of that out first. And then last, I would like to expand the refactoring of the controller to all of the controllers in our project. And I will probably be using this architecture going forward just because it simplified it so much. Thank you.